I'm Tim McCowell. This is Marauder Radio with Marshall Ferguson on the
McMaster University radio station. CFMU 93.3.
They shot a movie once in my hometown.
Kingston.
Everybody was in it.
Not me.
For miles around.
Welcome back inside Marauder Radio. I thought I'd play a little bit of hit for you because I'm trying to segue smoothly from one fantastic Gord to another. I'm joined on the phone by the CEO of the OUA, Mr. Gord Grace. Mr. Grace, how are you this morning?
Hi, good morning, guys. How are you?
Good morning, good morning. It's nice to speak with you. I know I tried to get a hold of you a couple of weeks ago. We weren't able to because of crazy transit struggles. That was quite the day for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little crazy. I think we were also trying to hook up after you guys beat Western, so I'm sure you had lots to talk about that day anyway.
Yeah, that was a pretty busy Monday. I try to avoid the football beat as much as I can, but it tends to dominate a little bit of my life, so comes up a little bit more. I'm sure you're used to that as well because I know you have a bit of a football background. To give people a bit of a bio on you, you joined the CIS National Office and oversaw marketing activities in 2013. You're previously the Director of Athletics and Recreation at the University of Windsor, also the OUA President from 2010 to 2012. It played a key role in the CIS securing a groundbreaking national television deal with Sportsnet. I wish that still existed. And was part of the Canadian delegation at 2 World University Games, including in the role of chef de mission at the 2013 Winter Università in Italy. And there's a bit of a background on you, but here at Marauder Radio, we like to hit you with the hard questions first. So why did you stop tweeting?
I'm still doing it. I'm retweeting a lot of stuff, I guess, these days. It's just a matter of finding time. I'm, as you can imagine, just kind of getting settled into the office, and settled might not be the right word. I mean, I came in, in the middle of the season, so catching up on a lot of things. So
yeah,
anyway, I hope to do a little bit more of that. There's more interesting people out there than me to follow, but hopefully I can do a little bit more of it in the future.
I don't know if there's more interesting people than you, because you have a lot of, you're handling a lot of different areas, which I find very entertaining. You also spent some time at the University of Michigan, which I wanted to ask you first, does being in and around the NCAA, I know from your Twitter account that you were at the NCAA basketball championships, does that kind of NCAA experience and understanding of the massive, crowds and situation and marketing kind of help gain perspective on the ways the OUA could possibly be improved?
Yeah, I think 100%. I think it's all those experiences. I mean, you can learn from everybody, the professional leagues, but certainly the NCAA from a marketing perspective really do take it to another level. And you go to their national championships, and I've been fortunate enough to go to bowl games as part of a team. I've gone to bowl games as a fan, and basketball, etc., hockey, Frozen Four. You do get to see what they're doing, and we can't mirror it and copy it always, but certainly there's ideas and concepts we can bring back to what we do. And I guess really at the end of the day, we're looking for the best practices out there that we can apply to the OUA.
Right, and you talk about not being able to necessarily copy all of the ideas there, and obviously the biggest difference being the financial side of it and the amount of revenue that they're able to pump out. One of the major questions right now in NCAA sport, which doesn't overly relate to the OUA, but I just want your opinion on it as an executive in a university athletics situation. What do you think about NCAA athletes being paid?
Well, it's an interesting debate. I mean, of course, when you see coaches making $6-7 million a year,
right,
and you go, well, geez, can't the players get something out of it? But they do sign on based on getting a full scholarship, and what maybe not everybody realizes is that the football revenues drive all the scholarships and all the other opportunities for the other student athletes. So, if you do have to start paying football players, does that mean that there's going to be less scholarships for female sports or
right,
even some of the lesser male sports? So it really is about the overall revenues of the athletic department. And like I said, most people might not realize that the athletic department's got to create revenues to pay for all those scholarships. They're just not waivers
right
on main campus. They actually do pay for them. And so those have to come from somewhere. So I just wonder sometimes what the balance is going to be if they chose to play players. I do think they can do a better job of giving players cost of living allowances and things like that to help offset, some of the true costs that they experience in being student athletes. We know we can't pick up part-time jobs and things like that. It's just too busy. So is there a way to increase what they're getting? I think there probably is.
That's true, and it's a dangerous line between, paying somebody for the basics like you're talking about and trying to cover their experience so they can enjoy and be, not to use the wrong word, but profitable in their sports experience. But going from there and then putting the money in the hands of people who perhaps would like to spend it on things that they may not necessarily need.
Well, that's just it. I do think that there's those kind of discussions. Okay, so what's a fair allowance for a student athlete to get on a week-to-week basis? And I think that it can be scaled and depending on the sport you're with, whatever. But it does seem like student athletes do deserve to get a bigger piece of the revenues to help support their pursuit of their goals.
Yeah, if you're an offensive lineman, I think your weekly allowance for groceries might need to be a little bit more than, perhaps a female gymnast or something like that, right?
Well,
see, that's where the line.
That one, I'd be careful calling that one. Yeah, of course, there's different needs there, but yeah, I think they can work it out. So we'll see how it all plays out. That
is where the line is drawn. You talked a little bit about scholarships there and trying to give AFAs, as they are referred to in and around Canada. The OUA has that $4,000 set level for AFAs that they are allowed to give. I know it varies across the country in different places. Out west, I know they give more kind of scholarships in bulk necessarily. Jeff Giles said in an article with the Cord and Shelby Blackley, who writes for the CIS blog, that maybe it restricts the OUA schools a little bit in their ability to recruit athletes. Do you agree or disagree with that the financial compensation that we are able to provide inside the OUA in this province might hurt the ability to keep athletes in-house?
Yes, for sure I do. I mean, again, at the end of the day, if St. Mary's or UBC were offering a full tuition scholarship and ours is capped at $4,000, that's going to influence some students for sure.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it does have an impact. Now, again, we know that there's, many more athletes being produced in Ontario, so, quite frankly, if some go to the NCAA or out west or out east, it's going to happen regardless because of personal preference. But I'm of the firm belief that we should be trying to keep as many of our top athletes in the province as we can.
The OUA slogan is the preeminent university sport conference in Canada. I spoke with my co-host Scott Hasty a couple of weeks ago, and we were thinking up a new slogan for maybe just specifically OUA football, which I know you're very familiar with, which would be trap game or must win, the OUA, because that is what the parity has kind of become in and around this league. Now, Guelph against Western this weekend changed things a little bit, I know, but what do you think of the parity in OUA football? I know you're very, very familiar with it.
Well, I've coached in this league. I've played in this league. So, it has been a league where you've had dominant teams and you've had weak teams for decades. And, of course, this has come to light this year with some of our scores. But, if you do look at the last few weeks, it's been fairly unpredictable how this thing's going to go. I mean, I don't think people would have thought Queens was going to be 2-5 this year. I don't think people thought that Carleton would be 4-3 at this point in time. It's unfortunate we have some teams who are struggling to get their first win, but we just went through some of the tie-breaking scenarios, and I think we're up to 9 tie-breaking scenarios that could all play out in the last week of the season. Yeah. So right now we've got 7 teams fighting for the last 6 spots, and I think it's very exciting. But having said that, there's nothing better than unpredictable, tight, close football games, and that's what we want to strive for sure.
Yeah, and they're more fun for me to play in as well, right? So I'm aiming for the same thing.
Well, I think whether you're a student athlete, a coach, a fan, a student, I mean, you want to be entertained, and there's nothing entertained by losing by a big score. It's not good for anybody, and so. I think for the health of the league and the pure experience of our student athletes, we have to do something to make sure that there's greater parity within the league. And but having said that, again, you're still going to have winners and losers. It's just the way it works out.
Yep.
And but we want to create as many great games as we can through the regular season, and that's something we're going to be looking at after the season.
I feel like it might be a bit of the big brother, little brother dynamic that people see with the NCAA and the CIS, and the fact that the narrative on our football leagues across this country becomes, it's just Canada. They have a bunch of really awful teams, and then the rest of them happen to have more funding, and they do very well for themselves, and they're better off in that way. When the exact same narrative could be written right now, unfortunately for you maybe, but for the Michigan Wolverines and the struggles they're having this season. Now, they're being criticized a lot as well, but it's not quite to the same level where people are questioning the entire NCAA, because you could compare a Queens to a Michigan right now, could you not?
I could see that similarity. People would make that comparison. Strong traditional programs, been a rich academic history, things of that nature for sure, a strong alumni base. But again, one of the things that is different in Canada and in the OUA is that there is a big difference in budget.
Yes.
And one of the things that the United States has done, or the NCAA has done, is that they've created some parity parameters that have helped along the way. So, for example, now you cannot give out partial scholarships Division I in football. They all have to be full scholarships, and each team gets 85 of them. Same with the amount of coaches that you have. It's all restricted.
Right.
So that now you are starting to see a Northwestern compete against the very best, whereas 20 years ago they used to get smoked all the time.
Yep.
So are there things that we can tweak within our system to make it better? Yeah, I think we can. But there's highs and lows, and it's cyclical, and some programs ride high for a while and they'll drop down low. But again, what we'd love to see is a league every year, like for example the NFL and say the NHL, where you're not sure who's going to win the championship that year. And you can pretty much predict in CIS football who are the 5 or 6 schools probably in the hunt every year. And I don't think that's necessarily the most healthy thing.
Right.
But of course, we know the professional sports have drafts to equalize the talent distribution out there, and we don't have that luxury. So anyway, it's things that we're going to be working on for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about teams taking a bit of a downswing. You played at the University of Waterloo from 79 to 83, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. Give me your best on-field football story, your favorite football moment.
Probably for a lot of teams, it's when you play Western, and we actually, my very last CIS game, we tied them.
Really?
Which knocked them out of the playoffs in '83, and it was the first time in years they hadn't made the playoffs. So
wow.
I had a few catches that game. Anyway, it was one of those ones that you kind of really look at, especially when you were on the short end of a lot of the games through your career. But that's a long time ago. On the flip side, I've coached in some much better football games, and from a coaching experience is when I was at Laurier and we won the Vanier Cup. That would have been the high on the coaching side of things.
Absolutely. There was a bit of a meeting of the minds at Waterloo a little while ago to talk about whether or not the football investment seems to make sense there. And I know you've already touched a bit on teams that are struggling a bit, and it's unfortunate, teams looking for their first win and whatnot. But your thoughts on the conversation surrounding Waterloo football as it kind of pertains to your personal experience being in and around that organization, even though it may have been a while ago, not that long, Mr. Grace. So don't attack your age here, but just your thoughts on that football program and the health of it moving forward.
Well, again, they have a new athletic director there now, and I knew the previous athletic director, Bob Copeland. Rolly Webster has taken over, and I know that football is important to them, and unfortunately they just haven't had that success on the field that they want. I think they're taking a review of their program, how they fund it, how they go about doing their business, and the OUA is looking to help any of our programs raise the bar, and we're hoping they'll call on us. But other than that, I don't have much inside information to share with you on what their exact plans are, except that I know that they're looking to build up their program.
Looking to sustain and improve, which I think should be the goal of any program, obviously, and the OUA clearly wants the health of all programs to continue to exist. The Laurier Golden Hawks team that I just played against on Saturday afternoon, you mentioned that you won a Vanier Cup with them. Give me your best Coach Patacic or Coach Jeffrey story that you can tell on air.
Well, I actually coached Steph. So Steph was on that team when we won it.
Yep. That was 91?
That was 91.
Yep.
And Steph actually suffered a bad injury that season. But
right.
But anyway, it was just a group of guys who overachieved. I mean, again, you talk about parity. That team finished 4th in the OUA and went on to win the Vanier Cup. So,
wow.
You kind of caught me off guard. I have to think about my best Steph story. Coach Jeffries, he's another legendary coach, and probably the stories that I know that would be amusing would probably be best if I didn't say them on air.
That's okay. I completely understand. Those are the best stories anyways. It's very much okay.
I'll share that one with you offline sometime.
Yeah, sounds good. You returned to the CIS as a head coach at Mount Allison in '96. How proud are you of Mount Allison right now and what they're doing in the AUS?
Well, no, it's terrific. Coach Jeffrey's done a wonderful job, and I keep in touch with him a little bit. Mount A is another one of those programs that doesn't have all the resources. They only have a student body of just over 2,000 students. So for them to do that is terrific. I had come back to the Mounties briefly for one season after they went down hard against the St. Mary's Huskies, and
right.
To see them beat the Huskies now, I'm sure it's very rewarding for all those Mount A alumni. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm sure they're counting on coming to the Mitchell Bowl in Ontario in a few weeks.
Yes, that will be very interesting to see because they have been pretty dominant so far out there in the East. And it's I know watching them play against Laval in that national semifinal, the UTEC last year, was very entertaining to see, like you say, a small school scrapping against the big red machine that is Laval. But
yeah, I was at that game. I think the whole town was there. It was a great atmosphere. For sure.
It looked awesome. Talking about looking awesome on TV for somebody back here, that Sportsnet deal that you helped to secure. How much do you think that helped the OUA to have that partnership when it was still in existence?
Well, I think TV is huge. There's no doubt about it. It's great for the brand. It's great for the member institutions' brands. I think it's great for the student athletes to get a chance to showcase their talents on TV. So very unfortunate that deal went away, but it's something that we're going to be working on and see if we can get back. The OUA has done a great job with OUA TV, and I was watching many of the games on Saturday and enjoyed them, even though I wasn't there in person.
Yep.
So that's one way to do it. But there's something about a national broadcast where it really does catch the public's eye. It also influences sponsorship, too. So, it is something we have to get back. Again, when you look at the NCAA and you look at the amount of games on TV down there, that's where we've got to get up to in Canada. We have to get more amateur sport on TV, and certainly the OUA has made that a priority.
I have an idea to improve CIS sports immediately, and it might take a bit of funding, but maybe not as much as some of the other ideas that have been thrown around. Fight songs. We have to improve fight songs across this conference immediately. Mr. Grace, can you do that for the OUA and for me?
Well, I'll recommend it. I'm not, I'm not that creative. I can't come up with the fight songs myself.
You're not going to write lyrics?
No. I graduated in mathematics, so I'm not that creative, right? But
yeah.
But I do like the idea because, again, I know what the Spartan fight song is. I know what the Notre Dame fight song. Of course, I know Hail to the Victors with Michigan.
Yes.
And it's a big part of that experience for fans going to those games. But, I know you're being a little bit facetious here, but really it's that tradition, that history,
yes,
that make part of all U.S. college football exciting. And so, we need to bring more of that to our games to make them the best experience we can provide our fan base, and I think that's, again, in the best interest of everybody.
I was being a bit facetious, but at the same time, when we were playing against Western, they came running out, and I'm not sure if it was their fight song or what, but they were playing kind of a large band sound coming out of the speakers, and as they're running out, I was thinking, this isn't necessarily the type of venue I'd enjoy playing in, which is probably why I didn't go to Western, but when I think about the idea of running out to kind of that pageantry, there's something about that. You're right about university athletics that people tend to get connected with songs in all genres, and I think fight songs for university and especially alumni, it really does create that connection, doesn't it?
Well, I've always thought that music brings you back to a certain point in time. I mean, I can tell you the songs that were big within a second, if it was in university or whether it was in the 80s or whatever. And I always think of the place I was when I was listening to music. And I think that's what happens when you step on campus. You get the marching bands down the stage, you get the songs going, and everybody just, reminisces about their days gone past. And that's part of the experience. And, again, anything we can do to build that kind of environment in the OUA or CIS, I think we should take a look at it.
What is your vision for the OUA sports sphere in 2 years, in 5 years? What are your long-term and short-term goals in your position as the CEO?
Well, collectively, I'd love to raise the brand of OUA football so that I don't have to go out there and sometimes explain what the initials OUA stands for. I want high school kids to go, oh yeah, I want to go to an OUA game this weekend and I want to play in the OUA. So how are we going to do that? Well, again, I think it's just a matter of of really focusing on our market-driven sports, especially because those are the ones that are in the media all the time. We have to really focus on the student-athlete experience. And for me, at the end of the day, if student-athletes came up to me after the end of their 5-year career, like yourself, and say, you know what, that was the best experience of my life. I wish I didn't have to leave, but I've got to move on, and maybe someday I'll give back. I'll come back and coach. I'll donate to my university or whatever. But that's where we want to get to. And again, you know, sometimes we can be our own worst critics. I think there's a lot of people that say that now when they leave the OUA. What a great experience it was. But we do need to build up our brand. We do need to build up the respect out there for the opportunity here, because again, we automatically think that the NCAA experience or something is always better than what we provide, when in fact maybe what we're providing is the best student-athlete experience that might be out there. And we don't have Alabama versus Louisiana in a major bowl game or the BCS game and things like that. But in a lot of ways, that's really professional sport. And so when you do think about what our mission is, and that's to graduate student-athletes, maybe we're doing better than we think we are. But I still think there's lots of room for improvement, and that's what we're going to set out to do.
We might not have the Iron Bowl with Alabama and Auburn, but we also don't have people poisoning other schools' trees in order to try and throw each other off. But we do have the Vanier Cup, and this year it is in Montreal. Now, I'm not sure you can confirm or deny, regardless of Ontario's involvement. Will you be at the Vanier Cup?
Yeah, I'll be there.
You'll be there. What are you most looking forward to about the Vanier Cup in Montreal?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing an OUA team there, that's for sure. That might be the thing I'm looking towards the most. But it's the first time ever in Montreal, and the Alouettes are co-hosting it with the CIS, and I had a part to play in that. And I just think it's, excuse me, I think it's going to be terrific to see it in a new city like that. And, I think the Alouettes are poised to put on a great show for us. And I just think that, again, 50 years of CIS football and 50 years of Vanier Cups, it should be a great celebration of a lot of tradition and exciting football over the years.
There's a lot of competition among athletic directors from school to school, and you used to be an athletic director. Do you think it is as similar as the athlete-to-athlete interaction is in competition and wanting to beat each other? Is that how athletic directors act and how CEOs of different conferences act? Does that, because it's filled, those positions are filled by several ex-athletes such as yourself. Is it that still kind of resonate with you?
Yeah, for sure. There's always competition. I think it's on a different level, though, to be honest with you. Most athletic directors, we all get along well, and we're trying to build the sport up. And sometimes we need to wear our OUA hat or our CIS hat and take off our institutional hat. And I think most athletic directors, I should actually say pretty much all athletic directors are able to do that. So it is collegial. But then again, so it is in even with student athletes. There's nothing better than seeing a post game where the two teams get together and the parents and friends come on the field, and guys who compete against each other, who know each other from their hometowns or their high school, get together and share a few words. I mean, that's really what it's all about. And I think athletic directors, they're part of that too. So sure, we're competitive. Yeah, I want the OUA to win as many national championships as we can.
Right.
But at the same time, if it's great competition, it's great experience, that's, again, what it's all about.
Yeah, I completely agree. And going back to what you said as well about the student-athlete experience, a question ago there, I can tell you on Saturday I was more nervous than I planned on being, regardless of being at home for the playoffs and anything else we've achieved, just realizing that it was my last home regular season game. I talked to some of the other seniors before the game, and we were like, this is really weird. You're talking about not wanting to leave. It was kind of that vibe of this feels very awkward, and I wish we weren't kind of going through this kind of thing, but I guess Father Time does play its role. Last couple of questions for you here. What is your favorite fan sport on a weekend afternoon? Take off your OUA cap for a second. Think about any sport that you enjoy. When you sit on the couch on a Saturday or Sunday, you have some free time for yourself. What do you love to watch?
Well, I love college sport. I'll follow NFL scores. I follow the NHL. I know some guys in the NHL and things like that. But honestly, maybe because my son plays for the University of Windsor,
right?
That's what I love the best. Now, some of my friends who remind me that I played in this league decades ago and I coached in it and then I administrated. I haven't gone too far, but I'm in love with OUA sport, and in particular football. I was a football coach, but it is great entertainment, and I guess that's what we need to continue to remind people, that yeah, we may not have guys going to the NFL, but at the same time, it's great competition. And if you get into it and really get to know some of the players and coaches, it is very entertaining. So, like most guys, my wife says this to me sometimes, listen, you work in sport, your hobby is sport, all you talk about is sport. So when it comes to the weekends, yeah, I'm watching games on the web, or I'm watching games on the TV if I'm not there already in person. So I tend to like them all. So a bit of a sport junkie.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It is quite the obsession, but I think it's a labor of love, and I can tell that you very much enjoy it. And we're excited to have you as the CEO of the OUA. You've been very gracious with your time. I appreciate you coming on to Marauder Radio this morning and sharing some insight with us. Thank you.
All right, Marshall, congratulations on the season so far, and all the best in the playoffs.
Thank you very much. Look forward to talking to you soon. That is Mr. Gord Grace, the CEO of the OUA. A great interview and a great guy to talk to. It was some neat stuff from him there. I found it interesting, the kind of comparison he drew from the NCAA to the CIS and ways we can expand, and the ways that he can tie in his experience at the University of Michigan with the OUA fan experience. That does it for us this morning on Marauder Radio. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will be back next Monday. I'm hoping to be speaking with one of the green men from the Vancouver Canucks. I will try to hide his identity as long as I possibly can during that interview. In the meantime, have a great week. Get out to your Marauder Sports. Look for the Marauder Report coming out this Thursday or Friday to prep you for where to go for all your games in the coming weekend. In the meantime, this is Marshall Ferguson signing off. Follow us on Twitter at Marauder_radio, or shoot us an email if you'd like, McMasterMarauderRadio@gmail.com. We're going to play out with From a Closet in Norway. Again, another song by you and me. Have a fantastic week, everyone.
I would rather be any place but here. Spin the bottle and roll the dice, my dear. 'Cause I can't care, I can't seem to break my fall. It seems I would rather be any place at all. So if the world is round now, why can't we have everything?